Look at your hand. It feels solid, ordinary, but every atom inside it was forged in a star that exploded billions of years before you were born. Those ancient particles gathered into minerals, the invisible hardware that makes life possible. We don't create minerals ourselves. We borrow them from the world around us: water, soil, plants, animals. When they cross into our bloodstream, they become part of something extraordinary, a network of tiny components that keep every heartbeat, every breath, every thought in motion. Most people think minerals are only about strong bones, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. Without minerals, nerves could not fire, muscles could not contract, the heart could not beat, blood could not carry oxygen, and the thyroid could not regulate metabolism. They don't provide calories, they don't burn as fuel. Instead, they make the chemistry of life itself possible. Scientists split the essential minerals into two families. The first, called major minerals, includes magnesium, calcium, potassium, phosphorus, sodium, and chloride. Our bodies need them in relatively large amounts because they participate in countless daily functions. The second family, the trace minerals, includes iron, zinc, copper, selenium, iodine, manganese, chromium, and molybdenum. Though required in milligram or even microgram quantities, each is absolutely essential for survival. A single missing atom can halt an enzyme, and a single missing mineral can interrupt an entire biological pathway. What makes minerals truly fascinating is how they interact. They cooperate, compete, and balance each other. Too little of one can render another useless. Too much of another can silently create a new deficiency. The body is a delicate orchestra, and every mineral is a musician playing its part in harmony. When a mineral becomes scarce, the body doesn't panic. It borrows, recycles, and even sacrifices. It may pull calcium from bone to keep blood levels steady, or shift iron to protect vital organs. You can feel perfectly fine while silent changes are already reshaping cellular chemistry. That's why deficiencies often go unnoticed for months, even years, as the body quietly compensates. What have you experienced? A twitch, a restless night, a lingering fatigue that might be a clue? Share your story in the comments. I'm curious to hear what you've noticed. Which mineral matters most? Asking that is like asking whether the heart or the lungs is more important. Life isn't built around a single hero. It's built around balance. Remove one mineral and the system adapts. Remove several and the consequences multiply. The question then becomes, which element powers almost every reaction inside our cells, helps muscles relax after each contraction, and makes the energy we produce actually usable? Stay with me, because the answer lies in a mineral that participates in more than 300 biochemical reactions, yet millions of people fail to get enough of it. In the next segment, we'll meet that silent workhorse and see how it fuels every cell. If this is opening your eyes, hit subscribe and join me for the next chapter. The mineral working inside you right now, more than almost any other, is the one that quietly powers every spark of energy in your cells. It is the element that appears in more than 300 biochemical reactions, yet millions of people unknowingly fail to get enough of it. I'm talking about magnesium. Magnesium is a small, positively charged ion that loves to bind with other molecules. It is the central atom that sits inside the green pigment of every leaf, the chlorophyll that captures sunlight. Without magnesium, plants could not turn light into sugar, and without that sugar, the food chain would collapse. The same atom that makes a leaf green also sits inside the molecules that keep your heart beating. The energy currency of life is a molecule called adenosine triphosphate, or ATP. Scientists often call ATP the battery of the cell. But a battery alone does nothing. It needs a circuit to deliver power. In the body, that circuit is magnesium. When ATP is ready to release its stored energy, it first grabs a magnesium ion, forming a complex known as magnesium ATP. This complex is the form that enzymes can actually use. Without magnesium, ATP would sit idle like a fully charged phone that never connects to a charger. Because of this partnership, magnesium participates in more than 300 enzymatic reactions. It helps muscles contract and then relax, allowing you to lift a cup of coffee or simply blink without thinking. It stabilizes the structure of DNA, the blueprint of every cell, ensuring that the genetic code remains intact as it is copied and read. It supports the production of proteins, the building blocks of tissues, and it keeps nerves firing in a precise rhythm. Even the heartbeat, that relentless drum that never stops, relies on magnesium to regulate the flow of calcium ions that trigger each contraction. When magnesium levels begin to dip, the body does not shut down immediately. Instead, subtle signs start to appear, often in places you would never suspect. A muscle may twitch without warning. An eyelid may flutter like a moth's wing. Nighttime leg cramps become more frequent, and sleep feels lighter, as if the brain cannot settle into its usual rhythm. Stress may feel harder to shake, and a lingering fatigue can settle in, refusing to lift even after a full night's rest. Some people notice a persistent headache, while others experience a sense of mental fog that makes simple tasks feel like climbing a hill. These symptoms seem unrelated, yet they all trace back to the same hidden shortage. The body is trying to compensate, borrowing magnesium from where it can, but the shortfall still shows up in the smallest of ways. The good news is that magnesium is widely available in nature, especially in dark leafy vegetables, pumpkin seeds, almonds, beans, whole grains, and even dark chocolate. The deeper green a plant appears, the more likely it is to be rich in magnesium. That is because the chlorophyll molecule that gives leaves its color contains a magnesium atom at its heart. Think of the plant as a solar panel. The magnesium in chlorophyll captures sunlight and turns it into chemical energy. That same magnesium, when you eat the plant, becomes the catalyst that lets your cells unlock the energy stored in the foods you consume. The connection between photosynthesis and human metabolism is a perfect illustration of how a single mineral can bridge the gap between the sun and the beating of your heart. Now that we have explored magnesium, let us turn to the mineral that most people picture when they think of bone health, yet whose role extends far beyond the skeleton. That mineral is calcium. Almost 99% of the calcium in your body is stored in your bones, forming a hard crystalline matrix that gives you structure. The remaining 1% circulates in your blood, and it is this tiny pool that fuels every heartbeat, every muscle contraction, and every nerve impulse. Your body treats blood calcium as a precious resource. When dietary intake drops, hormones signal the bones to release calcium into the bloodstream, much like a bank withdrawing funds to keep the lights on. This protective mechanism ensures that the brain, heart, and muscles receive the calcium they need, even at the expense of bone density. That is why early calcium deficiency can be deceptive. You may feel muscle cramps, tingling sensations, or unexplained fatigue, while your skeleton silently loses mineral density. By the time osteoporosis becomes apparent, the loss may have been occurring for years. Calcium comes from more than just dairy. Small fish eaten with their bones, fortified plant milks, tofu prepared with calcium salts, kale, bok choy, and collard greens all contribute to your daily intake. However, calcium does not act alone. It depends on vitamin D to be absorbed efficiently. Without sufficient vitamin D, even a diet rich in calcium may leave you deficient. This interdependence underscores a recurring theme. Minerals rarely work in isolation. They are part of an intricate network of balance. If calcium builds the walls, phosphorus provides the power. Phosphorus is present in every cell, woven into the backbone of DNA, forming the outer layer of cell membranes, and incorporated into the mineral matrix of bones and teeth. Most importantly, phosphorus is a key component of ATP, the very molecule that stores and releases energy. The phosphate groups in ADP are what allow the molecule to hold high-energy bonds that can be broken to fuel cellular processes. Without phosphorus, there would be no ATP, no magnesium ATP, and no usable energy at the cellular level. Calcium and phosphorus work together to create the crystalline structure that gives bones both strength and flexibility. The balance between these two minerals is essential. Too much phosphorus can draw calcium out of the bones, while too little can weaken the skeletal framework. Fortunately, phosphorus is abundant in many foods: meat, fish, eggs, dairy products, legumes, nuts, and whole grains. For most healthy individuals, obtaining enough phosphorus is not the challenge. Maintaining the proper ratio with calcium is. Having explored the major minerals that build structure and power energy, we now move to the elements that control the electrical currents flowing through every cell. The first of these is potassium. Each cell can be thought of as a tiny rechargeable battery. Inside the cell, potassium ions are concentrated while outside sodium ions dominate. This difference creates an electrical gradient, a voltage across the cell membrane that is essential for nerve impulses, muscle contractions, and heartbeats. When potassium levels fall, the electrical balance is disturbed. Muscles may weaken, painful cramps can appear, and the digestive tract may slow, leading to constipation. In severe cases, the heart's rhythm can become irregular, a condition that can be life-threatening. Conversely, too much potassium can also be dangerous, as it can flatten the electrical signals needed for proper cardiac function. The key is balance. Many people associate potassium with bananas, but bananas are not the richest source. Potatoes, beans, spinach, avocados, lentils, and sweet potatoes all provide substantial amounts. Modern diets often replace fresh foods with processed products that are high in sodium and low in potassium, tipping the electrical scales toward excess sodium. This imbalance sets the stage for a cascade of problems, from hypertension to impaired nerve function. Sodium, the mineral that carries the worst reputation, is essential for life. It regulates fluid balance, supports nerve communication, enables muscle contraction, maintains blood pressure, and helps transport nutrients into cells. The problem is not sodium itself, but an excess of it, especially when paired with insufficient potassium. Historically, humans had to seek out salt, making it a scarce resource. Today, processed foods are loaded with sodium, often far beyond what the body needs. When sodium intake skyrockets, the body retains water to dilute the concentration, raising blood pressure and straining the cardiovascular system. At the same time, the high sodium load can suppress potassium absorption, further destabilizing the electrical equilibrium. While sodium deficiency is less common, it can occur in athletes who lose large amounts of sweat, in individuals with prolonged vomiting or diarrhea, or in those who drink excessive water without replacing electrolytes. Symptoms of sodium deficiency include headaches, confusion, nausea, muscle weakness, and even seizures. Chloride, the often overlooked half of table salt, works hand in hand with sodium. It is crucial for producing hydrochloric acid in the stomach, the powerful liquid that begins protein digestion, kills harmful microbes, activates digestive enzymes, and prepares nutrients for absorption. Without adequate chloride, stomach acid production falters, leading to poor digestion and reduced nutrient uptake. Because sodium and chloride usually arrive together as salt, deficiencies in chloride are rare in healthy people. Yet the mineral's role reminds us that even the most unassuming elements can perform essential jobs. Having covered the minerals that build, energize, and conduct electricity, we now turn to the trace minerals that, despite their minuscule quantities, wield outsized influence over health. The first of these is iron, the mineral that lets you breathe. Inside every red blood cell resides a protein called hemoglobin, and at the heart of each hemoglobin molecule sits a single iron atom. That atom binds oxygen in the lungs, carries it through the bloodstream, and releases it precisely where tissues need it. When iron levels dip, oxygen delivery becomes inefficient. You may feel unusually tired, short of breath after minimal exertion, and your skin may take on a paler hue. Concentration becomes harder, and some people develop cravings for non-food substances, a condition known as pica, often manifesting as a desire to chew ice. Iron deficiency is one of the most common nutritional deficiencies worldwide, affecting both men and women, though women of childbearing age are particularly vulnerable due to menstrual losses. The body tightly controls iron because excess iron can be toxic. Unlike many other minerals, the body has limited mechanisms to excrete surplus iron, so it carefully regulates absorption in the gut. During infection, the immune system deliberately lowers circulating iron, a strategy that starves invading bacteria of the nutrient they need to thrive. This defensive maneuver can make you feel weaker, but it is a protective response. Zinc is another trace mineral with a broad portfolio of functions. It supports hundreds of enzymes, aids wound healing, bolsters the immune system, and maintains the senses of taste and smell. However, too much zinc can interfere with copper absorption, leading to a secondary copper deficiency. This interplay illustrates how an excess of one mineral can create a new deficiency, reinforcing the theme that balance is paramount. Copper, the often overlooked partner of iron, is essential for the transport and utilization of iron. It helps incorporate iron into hemoglobin, and without sufficient copper, anemia can develop even when iron stores appear adequate. Copper also contributes to the formation of connective tissue, pigmentation of skin and hair, and participates in energy production throughout the body. Selenium, a rare mineral, becomes part of a unique amino acid called selenocysteine, sometimes referred to as the 21st amino acid. Proteins that contain selenocysteine act as powerful antioxidants, protecting cells from oxidative damage, and they support thyroid hormone metabolism and immune function. Though required in only microgram amounts, selenium's impact on health is profound. Iodine is the fuel your thyroid cannot live without. The thyroid gland, though small, regulates metabolism, body temperature, heart rate, growth, and brain development. It actively pulls iodine from the bloodstream, concentrating it to produce thyroid hormones. A deficiency leads to a slowdown in metabolism, fatigue, weight gain, feeling cold, and can cause an enlargement of the thyroid known as a goiter. Iodine is abundant in seaweed, fish, dairy, and iodized salt, yet many regions still suffer from insufficient intake. Manganese, fluoride, chromium, molybdenum, and cobalt round out the list of trace minerals. Manganese supports antioxidant enzymes and bone formation, but excessive exposure, especially in certain industrial settings, can damage brain regions involved in movement. Fluoride strengthens tooth enamel, preventing cavities, yet excessive intake can lead to dental fluorosis. Chromium assists insulin in regulating blood sugar, playing a role in glucose metabolism. Molybdenum activates enzymes that break down sulfur-containing compounds and certain toxins. Cobalt, while not needed on its own, sits at the core of vitamin B12. Without cobalt, vitamin B12 cannot function, affecting red blood cell formation and nervous system health. All these minerals, from the abundant to the ultra-trace, form an invisible architecture that sustains life. They do not act as isolated ingredients on a nutrition label. They operate as an ecosystem within your body. Each mineral influences another, creating a web of chemical conversations that happen every second without your conscious awareness. The body constantly monitors concentrations, adjusts absorption, stores excess in bones or kidneys, and reallocates resources when needed. This dynamic balancing act is one of the most sophisticated systems known to science. Modern life can make maintaining this balance challenging. Processed foods flood the diet with sodium while offering little potassium. Restrictive eating patterns can unintentionally eliminate sources of iodine, iron, or vitamin B12. Supplements, while helpful in specific situations, cannot replace the complexity of a varied, nutrient-rich diet. More is not always better. Excess of one mineral can create new deficiencies, as we saw with zinc and copper. The healthiest body is not the one that constantly demands attention, but the one that quietly performs its duties so flawlessly that you barely notice it. It repairs, adapts, compensates, and learns. Throughout this process, minerals remain the silent architects supporting every system. They are invisible, essential, extraordinary. If this journey through the hidden world of minerals has shifted how you view nutrition, consider sharing your thoughts in the comments. What mineral surprise stood out to you? Have you ever experienced a subtle symptom that you now suspect might be linked to a mineral imbalance? Your experiences help illuminate the unseen connections we all share. And if you're curious to keep exploring the marvels inside your own body, stay tuned. The next chapter will dive deeper into how these minerals interact with one another, how lifestyle choices shape their balance, and what practical steps you can take to support the intricate chemistry that keeps you alive. Remember, the story of your cells is a story of balance, and every choice you make writes a new line in that